Hi, my name is Joel Rose. I'm the co-founder of New Classrooms. We're a nonprofit organization that's focused on learning acceleration for middle and high school math. We're going to talk a little bit today about PACE and the connection between PACE and proficiency in math recovery. Last spring, researchers at Stanford University put out a report that basically said that all things that schools are doing to catch kids up from learning loss are, quote, doomed to fail. What the researchers did is they looked at the pace of learning that was in place before the pandemic. They looked at how far behind students actually were, and they recognized that even if that same pace were to return, it wouldn't be enough for students to catch up. So the question is there something that can be done differently to support student pace and to better support acceleration? When we talk about pace, the unit we're going to use is skill. Now, sometimes in math, skill is a little bit of a dirty word, but when we say the word skill, we mean the procedural, the conceptual, and applied understanding of different mathematical topics. They're topics that can be taught in a 30 to 40-minute class session and reliably assessed with a 5 to 10-minute quiz. They're different from standards. So if the standard says something like students will learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions, that is not one skill, that is 4 skills. And so we've had to take the standards and convert them into something a little bit smaller that we're calling a skill. The skills in mathematics are expressed in the language of standards, and the way this chart works will show how they actually come together. When a child's in the 4th grade, there are 42 math skills that they're supposed to learn by the end of the year that will generally appear on the end of year summative assessment. But to learn those 42 skills require that they bring with them 22 skills from before the 4th grade. Like you gotta know how to add before you learn how to multiply. And so cumulatively, it's 64. When they get to the 5th grade, there are 40 new skills that they're supposed to learn. Those build on top of not the entire 4th grade curriculum, but 30 out of the 42 4th grade skills and 19 pre-4th. So cumulatively, it's 89. There are 12 4th grade skills that you don't need for the 5th grade, but you might need them for the 6th grade, the 7th grade, the 8th grade, or beyond. So this chart works both vertically and horizontally. What most every school does is they focus on the top box. A 4th grade teacher teaches the 4th grade skills. A 5th grade teacher teaches the 5th grade skills, and so on and so forth. That's part of students' Tier 1 curriculum. While Tier 1 high-quality instruction materials can help to solve the challenge of access, what it doesn't necessarily solve is the challenge of mastery. And social mobility is unlocked through mastery, not just through access. And mastery requires a deeper understanding of the column. So for the 7th grade class, for example, a teacher shouldn't just focus on the 42 7th grade skills, they must also focus on the 7th grade related skills that students should have mastered in prior years, but oftentimes for whatever reason, they haven't. If we look at this chart, we see that in a typical school year, the standards imply that students should learn roughly 45 skills over the course of a school year. And if we assume 30 instructional weeks, it's usually 36 minus testing and field trips and other fun stuff. If we call that 30, that would on average turn out to be 1.5 skills per week. That rarely actually happens. It may be what students are taught, but it's not often what they learn. Why? Well, oftentimes they're missing some of the predecessor knowledge. There may be uneven teacher quality. The instructional materials may not be as good. There may be challenges around students' well-being, certainly attendance. There's not great data on how many new skills students learn per week, but it is assuredly less than 1.5. But that then begs the question, what is the pace required for students to catch all the way up? And this is actually a very basic math problem. We look at the total number of skills in the column. We subtract what they already know. That tells us what they have left to learn. We divide it by the weeks available. That gets us our pace. So if, for example, we have a 6th grade student and there are 119 skills in the column, if on day 1 they know 29, that means they need to learn 90. And if they have 30 instructional weeks, that means they need to hit a pace of 3 skills per week. It's just the math. Now, hitting this pace target can happen through a combination of core and supplemental instruction of tier 1 and tier 2. But if the goal is to have the student catch all the way up, they have to hit this pace target. This chart now shows us, based on where students are coming in, how many new skills they need to learn in the course of a school year. On the left-hand side are the grade levels. Then we see the total number of grade level skills. So for example, a 4th grade student needs to learn 42 grade level skills. But when we add on the predecessor skills, so the total number of skills in the full column, you get to 64 for a 4th grader, all the way up to 147 for a high school student. Now across the top, we have what percent of the column does a student already know coming in on day 1? Do they know none of them at 0%? Do they know everything at 100%? So what this chart would tell us is that if there's a 7th grade student who knows 30% of the column, they need to learn 92 skills by the end of the year to get fully caught up. The students that we're currently working with across the country, on average, come in knowing 30% of the column. 25th percentile knows 10%, and the 75th percentile knows 50%. And what that means, based on a 30-week instructional year, is this pace is what's required for them to catch all the way back up. So a 6th grader who knows 30% of the column has to learn 2.8 skills per week to catch all the way up in the 6th grade. Or an 8th grader who knows 10% needs to hit a pace of 4.1 skills per week. What Roadmaps does is support schools with personalized competency-based learning. We recognize that the only way for students to hit these pace targets is to complement top box instruction, grade level instruction, with very precise diagnostics and content so that every student can be met where they are and then provided a path to get to where they need to be. This is what enables them to increase their pace and ultimately catch up and get ahead.